Did the judge just destroy Justin Baldoni's case, or is there more happening behind the scenes? Because what just happened in court is being called a serious warning shot, and it could change everything in this legal battle between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively. A federal judge has officially stepped in, and the ruling is raising serious questions. Judge Lyman has now declared major parts of Justin Baldoni's case as legally frivolous and factually baseless. Let that sink in. This wasn't just a small disagreement. This was the judge essentially saying, backhand index pointing right, this case should never have been brought this way. Now here's where things get interesting. Blake Lively's side didn't just want to win. They pushed for Rule 11 sanctions, which basically means if the case is nonsense, the other side should be punished for even filing it. And shockingly, backhand index pointing right, the judge agreed, at least partially. He issued a formal reprimand against Baldoni's legal team. And in the legal world, that's a big deal. This isn't just a slap on the wrist. This is something that can damage reputations, scare off future clients, and follow lawyers for years. But here's the twist, eyes. Even though the judge called the claims frivolous, he did not force Baldoni's side to pay financial penalties. So what does that mean? It means Baldoni's team took a hit, but not a knockout. Now, let's break down the real damage. The judge specifically pointed out that multiple people were added into the lawsuit. People who, according to the court, had no real legal basis to be included. And he repeated this point again and again. Backhand index pointing out these claims should never have been combined. Backhand index pointing out these parties should never have been sued together. Which raises a serious question. Was this lawsuit actually about winning in court? Or winning in the media? Because from the outside, this is starting to look like a full-blown PR war between both sides. But here's where things get even more strategic. Justin Baldoni's main lawyer is now losing credibility with the judge. And in court, backhand index pointing out credibility is everything. Every future argument, every objection, every motion now comes with a disadvantage. It's like starting a race already behind. And this might explain something very important. Why a new legal team, the Shapiro firm, has stepped in. This could be a calculated move to protect Baldoni, rebuild trust with the judge, and reset the courtroom dynamics. Because once a judge questions your judgment, it's very hard to recover from that. Now the big question everyone is asking. Backhand index pointing out, does this mean Justin Baldoni is losing the case? Surprisingly, not necessarily. This ruling is more about how the case was filed, not whether Baldoni is right or wrong overall. In fact, there's still a defamation claim involving Reynolds that the judge did not dismiss as frivolous. Which means, backhand index pointing out, there's still a fight left. But zooming out, this situation is getting dangerous, especially for Blake Lively. Because if this case goes to trial, and if a jury doesn't believe her, the consequences could be massive. We've seen this before. Look at what happened to Amber Heard. Public opinion can shift overnight. Careers can take years to recover or never recover at all. So now both sides are at a crossroads. Settle quietly, or go all the way to trial and risk everything? Because here's the reality. Backhand index pointing right, whoever is more willing to fight till the end has the leverage. And right now, it looks like Justin Baldoni might be ready to take that risk. Outro. This case is far from over. But one thing is clear. The pressure is building, the stakes are rising. And the next ruling could change everything. So stay tuned, because this legal battle is only getting started. Fire. And when you step back and look at everything that's happened, this isn't just a legal battle anymore. This is a high-stakes war of reputation, power, and survival, and both sides are now too deep to simply walk away. Because let's be honest, what started as a dispute has now turned into something far bigger, something far more dangerous. A case where every move is being watched, every statement is being analyzed, and every mistake is being amplified in front of the entire world. And right now, both Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively are standing at a moment where one decision could define everything that comes next. Let's talk about the reality no one wants to say out loud. This ruling from Judge Lyman didn't end the case, but it changed the energy of the entire battlefield. Because once a judge puts it on record that part of your case was frivolous, that word sticks. It lingers in the courtroom. It echoes in every future argument. And most importantly, it changes perception, not just for the judge, but for everyone watching, the media, the public, and eventually, a jury. And in a case like this, perception can be just as powerful as facts. Now here's where things become incredibly complicated. Because technically, Justin Baldoni is still in the fight. Legally, this doesn't prove he's wrong. It doesn't mean his entire case collapses. But strategically, he just took a hit that cannot be ignored. A hit to credibility. And in a courtroom, credibility is like oxygen. You don't notice it when it's there. But the moment it's gone, everything becomes harder. Every argument feels weaker. Every claim faces more skepticism. And every move is questioned just a little bit more. But here's the twist that makes this situation so unpredictable. Justin Baldoni might actually be in a stronger psychological position right now. Why? Because from his perspective, everything is already out there. The accusations, the headlines, the public scrutiny. He's already taken the hit. So now, there's less to lose, and potentially everything to gain. And that mindset? That's dangerous. Because the person who's willing to go all the way, who's not afraid of the outcome anymore, that's the person who becomes hardest to negotiate with. Now compare that to Blake Lively's position. She's the one who brought the claims. She's the one whose reputation is directly tied to the outcome. And if this goes to trial, there's no middle ground. There's no quiet exit. It becomes a public verdict. A moment where a jury decides what they believe and what they don't. And history has already shown us how brutal that can be. Just look at what happened to Amber Heard. That case wasn't just about winning or losing in court. It became a global narrative, a turning point, a moment where public opinion shifted so dramatically that the legal outcome almost became secondary to the damage done in the court of public perception. And that's the real risk here. Because once a case reaches that level, you're not just fighting for a verdict. You're fighting for your image, your career, your legacy. So the question now becomes, why hasn't this settled yet? Why are both sides still pushing forward, even when the risks are so obvious? And the answer might be simpler than we think. Ego, pride, and the belief that we can still win this. Because in high-profile cases like this, it's not just about what's logical. It's about what each side is willing to accept. And sometimes, walking away feels worse than losing. But here's the brutal truth. The longer this goes on, the less control both sides have over the outcome. Right now, they still have options. They can negotiate. They can settle. They can craft a resolution that protects them both. But if this goes to trial, that control disappears. And everything gets handed over to backhand index pointing eye to judge, backhand index pointing eye to jury, backhand index pointing right, and the unpredictable force of public opinion. And once that happens, there's no taking it back. Now let's talk about what happens next. Because this case is building momentum. Rulings are coming in. Decisions are stacking up. And we are getting closer and closer to a moment where everything accelerates. The next major ruling could shift leverage completely. It could pressure one side to settle, or push both sides even deeper into conflict. But one thing is certain, time is no longer on their side. And if you really think about it, this entire situation has turned into something almost inevitable, like a train that's already moving too fast to stop. Both sides had chances to slow it down, to change direction, to find an exit. But now, it feels like they're heading straight toward impact. So here's the final question. Who actually wins in the end? Because even if someone wins in court, what do they lose in the process? Time, money, reputation, peace of mind, and sometimes, the damage done along the way can't be undone. And that's why this case is so fascinating, because it's no longer just about the truth. It's about strategy, it's about endurance, and it's about who is willing to take the biggest risk and live with the consequences. So, as we wait for the next move, one thing is clear. This isn't over. Not even close. In fact, it feels like we're just getting to the part where everything changes, where decisions become irreversible, and outcomes become unavoidable. And when that moment finally comes, when the verdict is in, when the dust settles, we won't just be looking at who won or lost. We'll be looking at how far both sides were willing to go, and whether it was ever really worth it. Because in battles like this, sometimes the biggest loss isn't the case. It's everything that happens before the end. Fire,